everybody, I'm Joey Paul and I'm an indie author, and today we're going to be talking about writing disabled characters. A few weeks ago I did a video about diversity, and since I am disabled I figured I could give you some pointers on writing disabled characters. I'm going to give you my 5 tips for writing disabled characters. Number 1, research is your friend. Just as if you were writing about a certain torture technique, you would approach experts. The same can be said for disabilities. There are numerous ways you can go about the research. You can look on Google, which helps somewhat but isn't always accurate. You can also reach out to people who actually are disabled with the condition you're planning to use. This is the best way to do it, but I would suggest consulting more than one person, because a disability affects everybody differently. While one person will have certain symptoms, another person will have different ones. You won't find 2 people with, say, brittle asthma who have the exact same issues and needs and limitations, etc. Just as you won't find everyone who uses a wheelchair feeling the same way about things. It's all about diversity again. Number 2, wheelchairs and ramps aren't everything. A lot of able-bodied people think that wheelchair and ramps are the limit to accessibility issues. There was a meme going around about so unuseful some ramps were, with stairs at the top that you weren't able to use, etc. And that just made me realise that a lot of people think that ramps are basically the answer to all accessibility issues, when it isn't the case. So when writing disabled characters, be aware that it isn't all wheelchairs and ramps. Some people will use a walker, some use canes, some don't use any mobility devices because their mobility isn't an issue. There are a wide range of disabilities, from being blind to having seizures to a number of other things. So don't assume that just because you want to write a disabled character that they therefore have to have a chair and that's it. There are a wide array of devices that can help. For example, I use oxygen, I also use a chair, I also use a walker, I also have a syringe driver and numerous pillows. All of these help me with my various disabilities, and it's not just wheelchairs and ramps, people, okay? I don't want to read about disabled people who are just needing wheelchairs and ramps. Number 3, not all wheelchair users are paralysed. I'm going to tell you a funny story, okay? Once at my GP surgery, when I was first in the wheelchair, they weren't accessible and I tried to move around a corner, my chair got stuck. So I stood up and the receptionist was so shocked she thought I was cured. Now, I laugh at that now because it was funny, but I'm sure you've all seen that horrible photo about Miracle, the alcohol aisle, that shows someone in a wheelchair standing up to reach something on a high shelf. It annoys me no end because everyone thinks that a wheelchair user equals paralysed, and that's just not the case. And it means that if you're not paralysed, that therefore you're faking, which is just crap. So in writing a disabled character, be aware that not all of those who wheel are able to walk a few steps or stand. It's a common misconception, and it can be the difference between your character being believable to your character seeming trite. Number 4, not all disabilities are visible. Carrying on from the last point, not all disabilities are visible. I've written more disabled characters than Hope and Learn Hope. For example, Lisa in Blackout is disabled, but she doesn't use a wheelchair, and looking at her you wouldn't know. Same as Cassie in Second Sight, who's blind. Making it seem like a disability has to be seen but to be real carries on the stereotype that a lot of disabled people are secretly faking, which is complete bullshit and a stereotype that's died already. Looking at me in some of my pictures, you wouldn't know I'm sick or disabled. Before I had the oxygen, it was really hard to tell because I would just look like I was standing or sitting, and you wouldn't necessarily know that there was something wrong with me or that I was disabled. And that's okay, because what exactly does a disability like mine look like? It looks like this, like me. I am still disabled even if you can't see it. Even though I have more visible aspects of the oxygen tubing and my wheelchair, you don't have to fit a certain picture to be considered disabled. I am disabled whether people see it or not, basically. And number 5, disabilities do not equal tragic. And this brings me to this point. This is another trope that needs to die already. Disabled people are not tragic. We are not inspiration porn. They are not overcoming their disability or other such guff. Writing a disabled character who becomes disabled and then their life is tragic is harmful as hell. Under the same umbrella, writing a disabled character whose story ends them getting cured is also harmful. Think about it, you have young adults or even disabled adults reading about a character that's like them. And then the story focuses on how they're better off dead or they need to be cured to be valid. It's not right, it's not good, and you should completely avoid this kind of thing when writing disabled characters. We are capable of having happy endings. So those are my 5 tips on writing disabled characters. Basically, you need to watch out for the common pitfalls and you need to avoid certain tropes, as you would do with any kind of character that you're writing that needs some kind of research. Disability is a subject that's usually avoided but needs to be focused more on, simply because there are such a wide array of people who are considered disabled and people don't really know where to start. So I thought I'd give you those 5 tips and go from there really. Writing disabled characters does a service to not only your work but to the wider community as a whole, and seeing yourself in print and as a character is a really good thing. Disability may be scary and different and somewhat hard to understand. Doing the appropriate research and doing the appropriate checks can bring you to a well-rounded character that actually gives a lot of representation to people in the media. So that's all I've got time for today. If you want to get in touch with me, you can do so by leaving a comment down below or subscribing to my channel. I post new videos on Thursdays, or you can find me on Facebook, on Tumblr, on Goodreads, on Twitter. My books are available on Amazon in ebook and paperback format, and I also have a newsletter. And don't forget to check out Shenanigans 2018 and Bliss 2018, where I'll be signing books this year, all the links to which are listed below. Thanks for watching. Bye.